Good morning, Cedar Rapids. Thanks for joining us for our third Finance Friday special edition, because we're going to be talking about leasing FAQs, or frequently asked questions. I'm Ben, and this is Kristen. Jinx, you owe me a Coke. No more talking the rest of the episode. First question we usually get is lease always 3 years?
There's actually quite a few other terms out there. Perfect. A 24-month lease.
Longer than my first marriage.
Yep. And there's also a 27-month lease. Okay.
That'd be good.
36 we already know about. That's the 3-year lease. There is actually a 39-month
lease, kind of that honey hole that's the most used one.
That one we see a lot of. And then there is actually a 48-month lease. There is actually an option too that a lot of people don't know about. That's a one-pay.
One-pay lease. What's a one-pay lease?
That's supposed to be a PAY. That's the same thing. Pay.
There we go.
There's a one-pay lease that's out there that some customers, if let's say they were looking at paying cash for a vehicle and they don't want to write that whole amount up front, there is such thing as a one-pay lease, and you actually only pay for the, let's just say, three years that you're going to drive the vehicle.
Cool. That sounds like a nice way to do it.
Yep. Keep some money in your pocket.
Perfect. Huh.
Rusty, why would you lease over buying?
I prefer leasing because I'm a guy that likes bright, shiny things, and I want to get them as often as possible, just like cell phones. Most people like to get a new cell phone every 2 years.
Yep.
I'm the same with cars, and so for me to lease a car for 2 or 3 years, that way when I go to get a new one, I'm not rolling over in equity, whereas if I would have done like a 7-month loan, when I go to trade in every 2 years, I'm probably going to owe more on my car than what it's actually worth, so then I just keep snowballing effect, which is another good reason for people to lease too. If they do have a lot of inequity, we can bury that, get it gone in a short period of time, so that way when they come back and they want to lease or purchase, they don't have any inequity.
That's a great point. One of the other things too that I know a lot of people like is they don't have to deal with any of the maintenance or anything as far as the shop goes, because the vehicle is under manufacturer's coverage for a majority of that time, if not all of it.
Is cash down required while leasing?
It's not required. It's actually very similar to any time somebody purchases a vehicle, where it's always a good idea, or as far as if you want to put tax title license down, that's something that we always recommend. Essentially all it's going to do is lower your payment. So
it's always all right, I guess.
Yeah, no problems there.
No. Coffee's empty.
Another question we get a lot of times is what happens after a lease?
How do you get out of a lease?
How do you get out of it?
So this is how you get out of a lease. You open your door, swing it open, and you walk in and you drop it off.
That's it.
That's how you get out.
It's that simple. So
how about that?
Cash me outside.
So that's the simple way of getting out of a lease.
Right.
And your car, in case you didn't know.
That was the literal way.
That was the literal.
What we mean is there's a couple of different ways that you get out of a lease once the lease is done. Number one,
turn it in.
Turn it in. You turn it in, you're done with it.
Right.
The lease is up. It's just like leasing an apartment. Hand over the keys and that's it.
Give me a new one.
Number two,
trade it in.
You could trade it in. So let's say you want to either release again or just plain purchase a vehicle, you can use it as a trade-in. Number three, let's say you've driven this car for 3 years and you absolutely love it and you don't want to be in another vehicle. You can do what they call a lease buyout, where you choose to just buy the lease out now, and now you get to own it.
Cool. So do I just finance that like a normal purchase?
Exactly.
Would you guys
that
be able
way.
to help me with that?
Yep, we do that too. What happens if I go over on the miles though?
So yes, with most leases there's a time frame and then there's a mileage, I don't want to say constraint, but limit, mileage limit. And they range anywhere from 10, 12, 15, even 18,000 miles a year.
So let's say somebody thinks that they can actually do the lowest one and do 10,000 miles a year. What happens if they go over that 10,000 miles a year though during the lease?
Well, a couple different scenarios. If
number one,
you do the smart thing and get Smart Lease Protect, there is a protection for overage miles.
So normally it's about a quarter per mile that you go over. So a lot of people don't want to go over miles because it is something that costs you at the end of the lease. So that's why in the finance department there's a program called excess wear and tear. and that allows for an overage of miles. So the whole point is you don't have to park it in the garage when there's 3 months left of the lease, or you don't have to worry about taking a trip with your car or not. You can still do that and go over in your miles, and it doesn't cost you anything at the lease turn-in time.
If I do 10,000 for 3 years, I can only drive 10,000 per year, or is it 30,000 miles total? So I could do like 12 and then 8 and then 10.
Just total at the end of the lease.
Total at the end of the lease?
Yep, whatever adds up.
Quick scenario, backtracking. Let's say if I want to get out of my lease, or let's say I have like 6 months left on my lease and only like 1,000 miles left. Can I trade out of it before my lease is up?
You can.
Cool.
So come on into the dealership and we'll actually calculate when it makes sense for you to get out of that lease in advance or earlier.
Right.
Because with all the rebates that are out right now, people can actually get into a brand new vehicle with no miles on it for the same payment that they were just leasing a vehicle that's 2 years old now. And you know what? The best part is you can call us if you have any questions that we didn't cover today about leasing.
You can call me on my cell phone. Only between the business hours of 9 and 4.
9 and 4.
It rhymed. And then 9 and 9 didn't rhyme. That's it for today. Thanks for joining us on Finance Friday with Ben.
And Kristen.
And like I always say, happy motoring.
Woo!
Because love is an open door.
Yeah.
Finance is an open door.
With me.